All right, hi everybody. This will probably be the last Asks video for this week unless something pops up that I really want to post about and have time to post about. We've just got a few more questions in my inbox for now. This is the first one. What is the symbolism of the peach schnapps? That's really interesting. So it took us a while to figure out, or it took me a while to figure out specifically what the peach was about. So a couple of things. Overall, the peach schnapps represent something that is less, something that is not as good as it could be, and it kind of represents settling for something. Or, you know, it also kind of is in line with the whole surviving versus living theory or theme. So a couple of reasons that we can say this is, first of all, Daryl is not a fan of the peach schnapps, right? When she asks him if it's good, he says no, and she says, well, it's the only thing left. So we have this theme of she's accepting it because it's all she has, you know, so she's not living her best life, let's put it that way. It's just she's accepting what's left because there's nothing else. And then he breaks it, of course, and says, that's not going to be your first drink. We're going to go get you a real first drink, right? So there's that. The peach schnapps are also seen as weak because it is a weaker alcoholic beverage. And then she ends up drinking moonshine, which is arguably the strongest alcoholic beverage you could possibly get your hands on. It's really rough, nasty stuff. And I think it was also a way of showing how strong Beth was. I still remember watching Still for the first time with my mom, and I think I had seen it before. It was the first time she was watching it. And when Beth drinks it, she kind of winces a little bit, but that's it. She doesn't have a huge reaction to the moonshine. And I remember my mom saying, no way that's the only reaction she would have had. That stuff is nasty to choke down, and she would have had a much bigger reaction than that. But I don't think that that was the show being unrealistic. I think they did that on purpose because they wanted to show that Beth is a lot stronger than she seems. And so they were symbolically doing that by saying she can choke down peach schnapps like nobody's business. You know, it doesn't even bother her. So it's also a way of the peaches were the weak version of the drink and the moonshine was the strong version of the drink. And so we have Beth's weakness and Beth's strength, but the point is Daryl didn't want her to drink the peach schnapps because it was beneath her, because she's so much stronger than that. Another way that this was reinforced to me, I mean, we've seen the peach as a symbol plenty of times, but in season 8, when Morales showed up, okay, first of all, lots of symbolism, kind of like Beth, around Morales, and that's mostly because he had been gone for so long and then showed up again. So it was a returning character after many seasons. It's not to say that Beth is going to be just like Morales. He'd kind of turned into a villain by then, but just it was the return symbolism after so long. And, you know, Morales was, of course, being really nasty to Rick, and at one point he calls him Peaches. And if you actually look at that conversation, what he was implying when he was speaking to Rick there, he was calling Rick weak because Morales was part of the Saviors, and most of the Saviors had taken on this view of the world that you had to be tough, you had to be murderous, you had to be merciless and ruthless in order to survive. And so with Rick saying, we're going to show mercy to people, we're going to be kind to people, they see that as weakness. And Morales had totally drank Negan's Kool-Aid and was buying into that really harsh, ruthless view of the world. So he called Rick Peaches to show that he thinks Rick is weak. Okay, so that's what the peach symbolism is all about. It's either something that is weak, something that is not really strong enough to survive in the world, but it's also a matter of accepting something that's weaker or not as good because you don't have anything else. So like I said, it fits into the theme of surviving versus really living. And that was a big theme for Beth. She actually said that to Dr. Edwards at Grady. She said, you call this living. And it's because to her, maybe it's surviving, maybe it's where she has to be right now until she can figure a way out, but this is not living for her. She's going to live, you know, and peach schnapps are the opposite of that, at least symbolically. Okay, so good question. I haven't thought about that in a while. Next one. I keep hearing that AMC announced the spinoffs will be converging. Is that true? Don't get me wrong. I 100% think the spinoffs are going to converge, but it hasn't really been announced. So let me pull up this article somebody sent me. Let's see. Because I actually think that I talked about this, about what Gimple said on the video about the panel. And I said I didn't entirely believe him because he kind of said there wasn't a plan for it, but I'm pretty sure this is what people are talking about. There has not been an official announcement saying that they are planning some sort of crossover for the spinoffs where they're all going to converge. Let me find this in this article. Yeah, okay, so it says Scott M. Gimple, Chief Content Officer, fielded questions about a potential season 12 revival of The Walking Dead. And by that, think about that, season 11, season 12, they're talking about the flagship show in which a 3-show crossover with Dead City, Daryl Dixon, and The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, would converge. And then Gimple said, that isn't specifically planned. It would be good, though, to see. The dream would be that these shows somehow converge in some way narratively. On bringing the Walking Dead flagship back for a season 12, Gimple added, I'm not against it. So this is what people are talking about, but then they're taking what he just said here and saying, oh, it's been officially confirmed. No. He specifically said it wasn't planned. And again, I 100% do not believe him. I believe, because remember what I said a day or two ago about how several seasons ago, like 5-6 years ago, he said that he had through season 15 of The Walking Dead planned. And clearly we didn't see that much. We didn't see through season 15 from the flagship show. I believe what's going on in the spinoffs were part of his original plan for the original show. But when technology changed and things changed, they ended up splitting them off into a spinoff show so they could focus on one character or one, couple of characters at a time. So I don't believe him that it isn't specifically planned, but I think what he means is that they're not actually actively working on the crossover show right now. And that's probably because they're going to do 2 or 3 seasons of each of the spinoffs first. But I do believe that eventually in the future he is planning to do this. But, you asked whether it had been confirmed officially. No, it's very specifically has not been confirmed from the official channels. But this is what people are talking about when they say that. I've seen several people do, like YouTube videos where they say, it's been confirmed, there's going to be a crossover show. And again, I don't disagree with them, but it has not officially been confirmed. So just make sure that you keep in mind the details on that so that we, aren't saying incorrect things. That's all. Alrighty. Let's see. Next question. Any interesting social media posts from Norman or Emily lately? Yeah, there's been a few. So I will post these. Let me look here. Norman was posting, he posted an orange, and it looked like he was in his Daryl getup, like that might have been from the set of Daryl Dixon. Orange is actually, it's not one that's super, super prevalent or dominant, but we have seen it a few times, the orange symbol. We saw it around Denise with the orange soda. We've seen it in terms of like sunburst for orange juice. I don't remember every time we've seen it, but we have seen it quite a bit. He's posting a lot of things with hands. I don't know if that's on purpose, but it feels like a walker hand sort of thing. And then he posted one that had green and yellow and red balloons, and that's definitely a callback to season 6, Operation Lead the Walkers Away, because they were using green and yellow and red balloons as the different phases. And I did a whole post on that about that they represent the phases of an arc. There's the red part, which is, you could say the death part or the negative part or the part where people get separated. And then there's the yellow part where they escape from something and head back to their family. And then there's the green part, which is actually where someone is revealed to be alive, and that's the reunion. So it's kind of interesting that Norman is posting this. I don't know what it was for, but I definitely was kind of side-eyeing that. Emily, not quite as much. She did post, I don't think it was on Instagram. I want to say it was on Twitter. But Gladriel Jones picked up on this because Emily posted, some days I'm certain I should die and cut my hair, assume a different identity, and move to a house in the woods. Why am I like this? And Gladriel Jones was saying that Emily's basically talking about becoming Leah. Think about that. I'm going to dye my hair. Leah had red hair in Find Me and blonde hair when she came back after that. Cut my hair, assume a different identity, and move to a house in the woods. That sounds like what Leah did. And so that kind of sparked a whole conversation about Leah. Back when Find Me was first on, we actually thought for a long time that Leah might be a hallucination because it was so ethereal. We're going, okay, but has anyone actually seen her other than Daryl? Like, maybe he's hallucinating this woman, and we thought that for a long time. Now, as it turned out, she was in the story more, so that was not true. But we still kind of wonder if there are big parts of that story that he's remembering incorrectly, or if he might have hallucinated a lot of it, even if she was a real person. And we don't know for sure. We won't know that unless they tell us that, because, you know, we can only go off what we actually see in the show. But there were so many ties between Leah and Beth, and part of what we were kind of wondering is if Leah was blonde the whole time, because where on earth do you get hair dye in the middle of zombie apocalypse? Maybe he was hallucinating the red hair. Maybe he was, in his mind, trying to differentiate her from Beth in some way because she reminded him of Beth and because they did have a romantic relationship. And her hair was a different color. It was just weird. And we noticed that her hair was almost the same color as dog's fur. And that sounds mean, like we're calling her a dog or something, but we're not. Remember that dog is the serious symbolism, which is the return symbolism. So it still represents Beth in some way. So anyway, I guess the point is that Find Me was a really weird episode. And it's another one that if they aren't going to change anything narratively, like if they're not going to go back and tell us that something was off there and that Daryl hallucinated some of that or something, I would like to pick Gimple's brain about that and be like, okay, what exactly were you going for here? I mean, it's not that I think it was bad. I think that was a great episode because it gave us so much information and it was so interesting, and it's one that's really fun to go back and analyze again and again and again. But I just want to know what was going on in his brain with that episode and what he was, you know, actually getting at. But now we have this really suspicious tweet from Emily saying she's basically identifying with being Leah or something. I mean, it's kind of bizarre, but we're definitely side-eyeing that and wondering if she's trying to drop hints about ties between Beth and Leah. I think that's all of them I have for right now. I haven't been honestly paying that close of attention to social media. I've just been super, super busy lately. But my fellow theorists have come up with some really great theories and had some really great discussions that I have not entirely participated in because I've been so busy. But I may try to bring those to you. I used to just post our discussions so you guys could read them. I can read them to you because I know you guys like the audio better. So I might try to do that eventually, but honestly, I might not get to it until over the hiatus, so I'll get there eventually. But they like to go back and analyze Find Me, and they always come up with really, really great stuff. So yeah, Find Me was definitely an interesting episode, and I think it definitely pointed toward where they're going with Daryl and with Beth. I mean, I've said before, Leah was a stand-in for Beth. She has a lot of Carol mixed into her as well, but she was most definitely a Beth stand-in when it comes to the romance stuff. So, yeah. All right, I think that is all I have for today, guys. But I will be back next week, especially once the Fear episode drops. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And, yeah, I will see you then. Bye.